don't think he'll change. He is committed to his own level of service, and that will remain.
What if I told you that Princess Anne, the most relentless worker in the royal family, the one who dodges fame and never chases headlines, just blew the lid off a secret so explosive it could shake the monarchy to its core, right now? No warning, no filter. Behind palace walls, it's full panic mode. Emergency meetings, phones blowing up, lawyers scrambling to lock things down. Why? Because Anne did something no senior royal ever does. She broke rank. She exposed a hidden agreement linking two of the most toxic names in modern royal history, Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew. Yes, together, coordinated, quietly moving pieces behind the scenes. And Anne didn't just talk. She had proof, messages, records, meetings, receipts stacked high. So ask yourself this: why would the Queen's most loyal daughter risk torching everything she's protected her whole life? What could be so dangerous, so damaging, that even Anne decided silence was no longer an option? This isn't messy gossip or tabloid noise. This is a long-running setup hiding in plain sight, and it's been festering for years, not weeks. The clock hit 0 in December 2025, a date now burned into royal history. Not a celebration, not a ceremony, but the moment Anne said, "Enough." And she chose the location carefully. Not Buckingham Palace, not Windsor, but Gatcombe Park. Her private ground, her rules, no handlers involved. This wasn't palace approved, no spin team, no edits. This was Anne speaking raw, consequences be damned. Picture it, a small room, hand-picked journalists, no cameras flashing wildly, her face tight with pressure, her hands shaking just enough to show the weight she'd been carrying for far too long. "I have remained silent," she said, because she believed in the institution, believed in loyalty, believed some things should stay private. But what she uncovered crossed a line. This wasn't family drama. This was about the crown itself. Anne doesn't crave attention. She clocks in, does the work, and disappears. For her to stand up and speak like this, that's your warning sign, because she revealed encrypted communications, phone logs, and documented meetings, proving Meghan Markle and Prince Andrew had been aligning moves for years, carefully, quietly, deliberately. A secret alliance built in the dark, fueled by quiet moves and aimed at one thing only: leverage over the royal family itself. Let that sink in. Meghan Markle, who married him back in 2018 and walked away by 2020 claiming she wanted peace, and Prince Andrew, forced out after his infamous BBC interview. Two people with nothing in common on the surface, yet according to Princess Anne, they were quietly aligned. Anne's claim is chilling. Since late 2019, Meghan and Andrew were allegedly sharing insider details, syncing media moves, and building a safety net against an institution they both believed had turned on them. That raises the real question. Why would Anne risk her ironclad reputation to expose this? What did she see that made silence impossible? Because what follows is darker than anyone expected. To understand it, we have to rewind to November 2019, the moment everything imploded for Andrew. Do you remember the BBC Newsnight interview with Emily Maitlis? If not, here's the recap. It was a total meltdown. Andrew tried to explain his association with Jeffrey Epstein and instead torched his own credibility in under an hour. The excuses, the lack of remorse, the bizarre claims. Within 3 days, Andrew was done. Royal duties stripped, charities bailed, doors slammed shut. Even Queen Elizabeth II couldn't protect him from the backlash. But here's what stayed hidden. While Andrew was isolated and radioactive, someone reached out. Someone who didn't see disaster, but opportunity. Meghan Markle. According to Anne's evidence, Meghan made first contact through intermediaries in late November 2019, just weeks after the interview collapsed. The tone wasn't aggressive. It was sympathetic, understanding. Messages framed the palace as quick to sacrifice its own. One message reportedly said, "I know exactly what you're going through." Think about that moment. Andrew abandoned, the family pulling away. Then Meghan, already feeling pushed to the margins herself, steps in offering validation. This wasn't sloppy manipulation. It was precise, calm, strategic. She didn't ask for favors. She didn't demand anything. She was simply present when no one else was. And that's exactly how influence begins. So why Andrew? Simple. Access, information, insurance. By late 2019, Meghan and Harry were already mapping their exit. The announcement came in January 2020. But leaving the royal family isn't like handing in a resignation letter. You don't just walk away from the royal machine like you're quitting a regular job. The institution controls exits, shapes narratives, and protects itself first, always. Meghan Markle knew that. She needed leverage. She needed protection. And she needed it not just for herself, but for Harry too, in case the palace decided to strike back. What she needed most was insider knowledge. Someone who knew every hidden corridor, every quiet rule, every unwritten threat. That's where Prince Andrew comes in. Bitter, isolated, sitting on decades of palace secrets and plenty of resentment. According to Princess Anne, their connection escalated fast through December 2019 and into early 2020. What started as sympathetic messages turned into frequent phone calls. Those calls shifted into strategy sessions, and soon it became a formal understanding, not casual venting. Here's the chilling part. This wasn't emotional support. Anne claims they were actively coordinating moves, sharing intelligence, and building a mutual safety net. This was planning, not complaining. Then came February 2020, the secret meeting. Remember reports that Andrew took a quiet trip to Canada to escape media pressure? That story doesn't hold up. Anne says the real reason was far more calculated. According to her findings, Andrew traveled to meet Meghan at a secluded estate on Vancouver Island. While the world thought Andrew was laying low and Meghan was adjusting to a new life, they were allegedly finalizing plans behind closed doors. Security was airtight. Private transport. No official records. A location chosen for isolation. Only a handful of people knew. All locked into strict NDAs and compensated well for their silence. Anne says she pieced together what happened from months of quiet digging, intercepted communications, witness accounts, and patterns that couldn't be ignored. And what emerged was a three-part agreement. First, mutual protection. Both felt targeted, both felt discarded. They agreed to back each other when moments arose. That meant selective leaks, friendly journalists, subtle media pressure, and coordinated narratives. Remember those random articles defending Andrew? The ones saying he was treated unfairly, that the backlash went too far, that he deserved another look? Anne claims many of those didn't appear by accident. They were quietly pushed through Meghan's media network. Second, information sharing. This is where things turn truly dangerous. Prince Andrew wasn't just another sidelined royal. He carried decades of insider knowledge, how the palace operates, where it's exposed, which pressure points matter most. He knew family secrets, institutional weaknesses, and the quiet history most people never hear about. Meanwhile, Meghan Markle brought something Andrew didn't have: insight into current family dynamics and access to a powerful global media network. Together, the exchange was mutually beneficial, but also mutually dangerous. Each now held material that could destroy the other if things ever went sideways. Third, future coordination. This is the most unsettling part of all. According to Princess Anne, they didn't just talk about past grievances. They planned for future scenarios, potential crises, vulnerable moments, situations that could be exploited when the palace was weakest. These weren't reactive conversations. Anne claims they were mapping contingencies, even discussing situations they might help trigger themselves. That crosses a line. Now stop and think. Why is Anne speaking up now?
Princess Anne has wrapped up paying tribute to fallen servicemen and women at a Remembrance Day service.
The privilege to bear during so much of my life and duty.
December 2025, nearly 6 years after first contact, nearly 5 years after Vancouver. What changed? Anne hinted at escalation. She spoke about the agreement evolving into something darker, more reckless, more dangerous. She mentioned threats, without details, and raised concern about protecting her nieces, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, from being caught in the fallout. Most chilling of all, Anne said staying silent was no longer compatible with my duty to the crown. Think about that. This is a woman who survived half a century of royal scandals without speaking out. For her to go public now means something crossed a line she couldn't ignore. And here's the key. Anne isn't reckless. She's disciplined, strategic, trained to weigh consequences. She knows accusations without proof are meaningless, which tells you one thing loud and clear. She has evidence. During her revelation, Anne referenced specific materials without releasing them fully. A calculated move. Keep pressure high, block full denials, control the tempo. She confirmed encrypted messages exist, communications traced between Andrew's devices and numbers linked to Meghan's team. These allegedly include direct discussions about palace vulnerabilities, family tensions, and coordinated response plans. She also claims phone records show sustained contact throughout 2020, 2021, and beyond, timing that lines up with major royal controversies. Negative press for one followed sudden distractions for the other. Anne says that pattern wasn't accidental. It was coordinated. And finally, witnesses. Anne has spoken with individuals aware of the Vancouver meeting and later cooperation. People who saw enough to confirm this wasn't rumor, it was real. Staff members, security teams, people bound by strict NDAs, individuals who were never supposed to talk. According to Princess Anne, she persuaded some to come forward through appeals to duty to the crown, and through other methods she hasn't explained. And then there's the most volatile detail of all, financial records. Anne didn't spell out the transactions or how they were structured, but the signal was unmistakable. Money moved. Funds flowed between entities linked to Prince Andrew and Meghan Markle. That alone suggests this went far beyond casual coordination. Was Meghan helping cover legal or PR costs? Was Andrew compensated for access or insight? Anne didn't speculate, but her reference to financial documentation implies a formal arrangement, not loose cooperation. And here's the genius of Anne's strategy. She revealed just enough to prove she's deadly serious, but not enough to show her full hand. The palace can't flatly deny everything because she's made it clear documentation exists, yet they don't know exactly what she holds. That leaves the palace stuck. Deny it all and risk being exposed, admit parts and limit damage, stay silent and let the story spiral. Every option is dangerous, and Anne knows it. Now imagine being King Charles III right now. Your sister publicly accuses your brother and your daughter-in-law of a secret coordination with evidence and forces it into the open. There's no quiet family fix anymore. The fallout was immediate. Buckingham Palace rushed out a statement calling Anne's claims categorically false and deeply irresponsible. But notice what they didn't do. No legal threats, no character assassination, no dismissal. Why? Because Anne isn't some outsider. She's the Princess Royal, over 50 years of service, more engagements than nearly anyone alive. You can't casually shred her credibility. Behind the scenes, panic set in, emergency meetings, lawyers pulled in, advisors scrambling. The core questions are brutal. What exactly does Anne have and how bad is it? Meanwhile, Andrew and Meghan both issued denials, but listen closely to the wording. Andrew's lawyers called Anne's account misleading and taken out of context, notably stopping short of denying all contact. That phrasing matters. Meghan's team went harder, attacking Anne's motives and credibility, but avoided point-by-point denials. That's a classic move when specifics are risky. Non-denial denials usually mean one thing: fear of receipts. And now palace lawyers are digging into an even darker question. If confidential royal information was shared without authorization, did laws or binding agreements get broken? And that's where this stops being just scandal and starts becoming something far more serious. The Queen's final move came quietly on the morning of November 23, 2025. Buckingham Palace looked calm from the outside, unchanged as ever, but inside its walls, history was about to shift. As the meaning settled in, King Charles III realized his mother had left him more than a crown. She had left him a test. This wasn't about money or property. The clause carried intention, expectation, and a silent message about family responsibility. The atmosphere changed instantly. What began as routine paperwork turned into stunned silence as palace officials grasped the weight of what had surfaced. Charles was seated in his private office reviewing documents tied to Queen Elizabeth II's estate. It was meant to be procedural, slow, careful, uneventful. Nothing hinted at drama. Yet buried within those orderly pages was a revelation that would ripple through the royal household. As Charles read on, it became deeply personal. This wasn't inheritance housekeeping. It was his mother's final intervention in a family story she knew was unfinished. Even in her final months, the Queen had been planning ahead, quietly shaping a future she knew she would never see. The clause wasn't accidental. It was precise, intentional, and deliberately concealed, written to surface at exactly the right moment. News of its discovery moved fast behind palace doors, sending shockwaves that never reached the public. But for Charles, the impact was overwhelming. He came across a sealed section of the will, unfamiliar, unmistakable. This wasn't part of the estate plan he thought he understood. The wording was clear, specific, and impossible to ignore. At its center stood Prince Harry. What Charles was reading had never been shared with senior advisors or close family, until now. It forced him to confront not just his duty as king, but his role as a father, stripped of ceremony and palace walls. Outside, life moved on. London bustled. Headlines stayed the same. But inside Buckingham Palace, nothing felt normal anymore. A secret long buried had come into the light, and decisions could no longer be delayed. Throughout her reign, the Queen was known for patience, strategy, and flawless timing. This clause reflected all of that. Not emotional, not rushed. Carefully designed to emerge during Charles's reign, when he would be tested enough to face its consequences. Though her voice had fallen silent, the Queen had spoken again, guiding, shaping, and influencing the monarchy from beyond the grave. King Charles III had uncovered a hidden clause in his mother's will, one that directly involves Prince Harry. But what does it say? Is it discipline for Harry's decision to leave the UK for California, or a plan rooted in forgiveness and foresight? And just as that question hangs in the air, another chapter begins. A condition tied to Prince William. The day began like any other royal morning at Kensington Palace, but nothing about it would remain ordinary. According to palace insiders, the time was exactly 7:48 a.m. when the statement dropped, and everyone inside Buckingham Palace knew instantly this was not routine. This message didn't come from an office, a press secretary, or a committee. It came directly from Prince William himself. That detail alone changed everything. There was no ceremonial language, no buffering layers, no traditional phrasing. William announced the complete and permanent end of any future relationship between the Crown and Meghan Markle, and the timing guaranteed maximum impact. Breakfast television in Britain, afternoon newsrooms in Asia, late-night desks in North America, all hit at once. Within minutes, BBC broke the story, followed by Sky News and ITV. In the US, CNN pushed an alert before 8 a.m. Financial updates vanished. Weather segments were cut. Entertainment news disappeared. This announcement swallowed the news cycle whole. People already knew relations between the Crown and the Sussex camp were strained. Interviews, documentaries, lawsuits made that obvious. But those moments were emotional, reactive, messy. This was different. Cold, administrative, final. And that contrast rattled everyone. Markets stayed mostly stable, but British media stocks spiked briefly as attention surged. Public reaction split sharply by age. Older audiences saw necessity. Younger audiences saw finality. Embassies contacted the palace for clarification, and Commonwealth offices were briefed directly by William's team. By midday, palace switchboards logged thousands of calls, most deliberately unanswered. Silence wasn't a failure. It was the message. By early afternoon, the question shifted from what happened to what comes next. Veteran reporters like Nicholas Witchell described it as unprecedented in modern royal history. International media moved instantly. Reuters issued a bulletin within minutes. In France, Le Monde updated headlines before most commuters reached work. But social media exploded even faster, over 1 million interactions in under 10 minutes on X. Outside Kensington Palace, journalists were already positioned. Some had been tipped something major was coming. None expected this scale. One palace staffer called it a rupture of historic proportions. William also activated long-prepared response plans, scenarios years in the making. What stunned observers wasn't the noise, it was the certainty. There was no emotional speech, no personal grievances, no rebuttal material left to attack. Historians noted precedent, titles removed before, lines drawn quietly, but never like this, never personally authored by a future king. Older citizens largely approved, younger audiences were unsettled by the finality, and William's silence afterward mattered most of all. No follow-ups, no softening, no escape hatch. That door didn't just close, it locked. Now attention turns to why. What forced this move? Who knew? How long had it been coming? One thing is undeniable. Princess Anne's revelation triggered a reckoning the monarchy can no longer avoid. Whether you sympathize with Meghan, with Andrew, or with neither, the institution cannot continue unchanged. Reform or erosion, those are the options now. Princess Anne, the woman who never chased the spotlight, forced this moment of truth, and the monarchy will never be the same. The real question isn't whether this scandal fades, it's whether the institution survives. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this breakdown helped you see the bigger picture, subscribe for more deep dive coverage, because this story isn't over. It's only just beginning.